Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the spring campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. Last week when we looked into the Midnight Masks, we picked up 4 experience, but Zoe also gained a mental trauma thanks to Smite the Wicked being stuck on an enemy we couldn't get to in time. On the bright side, we at least did get 2 cultists. With that musing though, we've spent the 4 experience, so now we're ready for the last scenario of the campaign, the Devourer Below. First up, let's go ahead and set the scene. Scenario 3, the Devourer Below. After a frantic nighttime search throughout Arkham, you have tracked down and questioned several members of the cult. Your findings are disturbing. They claim to worship a being known as Umordoth, a monstrous entity from another realm. You are able to confirm much of Lita's story. The cult is agitated over the destruction of a ghoul lair. However, a surprising detail also turns up. The one who invaded the lair and set this night's events in motion was none other than Lita Chandler herself. You are not sure why this important detail was omitted from Lita's story. Did she tell you only as much as was necessary to draw you into her conflict? But in another light, she seems to be fighting to protect Arkham, the city of Arkham, from a terrible menace. The final piece of the puzzle was found written in a journal possessed by one of the cultists. It describes a dark ritual to be performed deep within the woods south of Arkham this very night. According to the journal, the ritual's completion will open a gate and bring forth the cult's dark master into this world. If the cult is not stopped, Lita warns, there is a possibility that Umordoth's vengeance will consume all in its path. Frightened but determined to stop the ritual, you head into the woods. There are not a lot of good stories that start from they headed into the woods. Hopefully this won't be another one of those bad stories. Next up, let's go ahead and remind everyone of what the tarot reading was. So on the good side, we left Wheel of Fortune 10. So once per act, when any investigator reveals a tentacle, the investigators may cancel it and treat it as a 0 instead. On the bad side, we flip the Fool 0. So each investigator defeated during this scenario earns -2 experience during its resolution. Of course, as we heard, there's a pretty good chance that if we're defeated, then we're going to have a lot worse problems than picking up 2 fewer experience. So we'll have to keep that in mind. But next up, let's take a look at opening hands. We're going to go back to Zoe as our lead investigator for this scenario. We'll start off with a skill. Unexpected Courage with 2 question marks on commit. Max 1 committed per skill test. Then we have an event. We have a couple events, actually, in Glory. 1 cost to play, 2 lore on commit. Fast, play after you defeat an enemy, draw 2 cards. Our other event is one of our new events that we picked up from the Midnight Masks. Dynamite Blast level 3. Or level 2, I should say. 4 cost to play, will, and combat on commit. Choose either your location or a connecting location. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and to each investigator at the chosen location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. I'm going to get a little metagamey. I might be slightly happier to see that later, but I'm not going to complain about seeing it now. Then we have 2 cards I will be very happy to see in pretty much any situation when I'm playing Zoe. So we'll start off with our level 0 Enchanted Blade. 3 cost to play, combat on commit. Uses 3 charges. As an action, fight, getting +1 combat for this attack. As an additional cost to initiate this ability, you may spend 1 charge to empower the blade. If you do, you get +1 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. And the other half of the reason I'm so happy to see this in my opening hand, Zoe's Cross, symbol of righteousness. 1 cost to play, 2 combat, and a question mark on commit. Zoe Samurus deck only. As a reaction, after an enemy becomes engaged with you, exhaust Zoe's Cross and spend 1 resource, deal 1 damage to that enemy. Testless damage is always something I'm very happy to see in a starting hand, especially when it comes with a weapon such as we have with Zoe. Now moving into Daisy's hand, We have a skill to start with, and the rest of her hand is assets. Eureka. Will, lore, agility on commit. If this skill test is successful, the investigator performing the test searches the top 3 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles. Then we've got all assets. So the question is, what do we want to play first? We'll take a look first at Scroll of Prophecies. 3 costs to play, will on commit. Uses 4 secrets. As an action, spend a secret to choose an investigator at your location. That investigator draws 3 cards, then discards 1 from their hand. Takes up 1 hand slot. It would also give me access to Daisy's extra tome action right away. Then we've got Hiking Boots, level 1. 2 costs to play, agility on commit. Limit 1 footwear per investigator. You get +1 agility. As a reaction, after the last clue is discovered from your location, exhaust Hiking Boots to move to a connecting location with at least 1 clue or to a connecting unrevealed location. We've got a Research Librarian as well. I might want this later as well. 2 costs to play, agility on commit. Reaction, after Research Librarian enters play, search your deck for a tome asset and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. 1 and 1 on Soak takes up the ally slot. Last up, we've got the Untranslated Dream Diary. I wanted to upgrade this in the last round of upgrades, but I had too many other things I needed to do. 2 costs to play, will on commit. As an action, search your bonded cards for Essence of the Dream and add it to your hand. The reaction ability is not going to be relevant because we translated that in the last scenario. I'm not as happy with Daisy's starting hand, but there are potentially some ways I can improve it. But we need to take a look at our Act and Agenda decks. First up, we'll take a look at our Agenda 1A. The Arkham Woods. From interrogating members of the conspiracy within Arkham, you have learned that they are performing a rite of vengeance in response to the destruction of one of their master's lairs. You have entered the woods outside Arkham to try to stop them. The woods seem unnaturally cold and filled with a deathly silence. Foredoomed to advance that, and because of setup, because we had 4 cultists get away from us, we actually start that with 2 Doom. We actually start the agenda with 2 Doom on it. So I'll put that there. Then we'll take a look at our first act. Act 1A, Investigating the Trail. The evidence you've gathered has led you to the woods south of Arkham, where you believe a ritual to summon a being called Umordoth is about to take place. Stealing your resolve, you set forth deeper into the woods, hoping to find the site of this ritual. 3 per, aka 6 clues to advance. Last up, Daisy and Zoe are going to move over to the map, so let's meet them over there. I'm trying a different setup for this scenario. So if you remember when I did this scenario way back during the fall campaign for 2021, what I basically did was I had the main path where the investigators are starting down at the bottom, and then upward scrolls to the, or upward moving to the 4 Arkham Woods locations. I'm starting with the main path in the center, and then the 4 Arkham Woods locations out to the corners. Looking at this, I kind of like this setup a little bit better, but let's take a look at our starting location, the main path. Hangman's Brook separates Uptown from the woods south of Arkham. Passing over the small bridge, you follow the main path deeper into the forest, and then this will flip into Shroud of 2, no clues. The main path is connected to each other woods location. As an action, resign. There's nothing we can do to stop them. You flee from the woods, leaving Arkham to its grisly fate. Right, so that could be mildly problematic, but I think with that we're all set to go. And as I normally default to lead investigator at first when I don't have a better plan. And I'm going to here, so Zoe's first turn will actually leave us right here at the map. Zoe's first turn is going to consist of 2 parts setup, 1 part exploration. So between her first 2 actions, she's going to spend 4 resources to play out the cross and the enchanted blade from her hand. I did forget to mention about the enchanted blade. Takes up a hand and an arcane slot. So I'll get the 3 charges for the blade. There we are. And then for action 3, we're going to move Zoe down to this Arkham Woods location down here. We'll take a look at the unrevealed flavor text. They'll all be the same. Growing up, you were always warned to stay out of the woods at night. Now you know why. And then this will flip into Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Forced. When you move out of this location, test Lore 3. If you fail, cancel the effects of the move. The path seems to twist and turn upon itself almost as if we're alive. That is going to be a problem for Zoe. We need the 2 clues for that. Zoe is unfortunately going to be testing down 1, trying to get out of there. So that's rather unfortunate. Daisy. So for Daisy's first turn, we're going to play out... We're going to spend 2 resources to play her hiking boots out. Mostly because I need some desperate help with agility. It'll only give her 1 to bring up to 3, but that might be enough to evade some of these enemies. Action 2, I'll move Daisy up to this Arkham Woods location. This will flip into Shroud of 1, no clues. It's a quiet glade. As an action, heal 1 damage or 1 horror, limit once per turn. Action 3, I'll bring her right back to the main path. Mostly to keep things moving, and I can probably send Daisy down here to help Zoe out with the clues, but that's not going to solve the problem of Zoe probably can't get out of there. So anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, it is the first turn of the game, so we have no enemies in play, which means I'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Zoe gains 1 resource and goes to 2. Daisy gains 1 and goes to 4. Zoe draws Machete. 3 cost to play, combat on commit. As an action, fight, getting +1 combat for the attack. If the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, this attack deals +1 damage. Might be happy to swap that out for the enchanted blade at some point. Daisy draws. I've got a plan. 3 cost to play, lore, and combat on commit. Fight using lore. You deal +1 damage for this attack for each clue you have, max of +3 damage. Now, we are going into the Mythos phase. One thing I've kind of glossed over a little bit in previous plays of in this campaign is the Mythos phase is actually at the start of the round. So it's a little bit confusing for anybody who's played anything else in the Arkham Horror files, where you're used to having the Mythos phase at the end of the round, whereas here it's the beginning of the round. And the way the way Fantasy Flight reconciles that is they say that setting up the scenario basically takes the place of the first Mythos phase. So just something to remember, that when you're testing that if you exhaust something for a test during the Mythos phase, you're actually exhausting it for the rest of the round. You don't get to immediately unexhaust it. So you do need to be very careful of that. But now that I'm done rambling on that front, Doom on the agenda goes up to 3, because remember, we started with 2 thanks to having 4 cultists get away from us. Zoe draws Mysterious Chanting, Revelation, which is something you'd have to do right away when it comes out. And there are some cards in the player decks that'll show that, mostly weaknesses. Place 2 Doom on the nearest cultist enemy. If there are no cultist enemies in play, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy and draw it. Shuffle the encounter deck. So we do need to go into the deck for a cultist. Okay. It will end up being a measly acolyte, which we need to try to get Zoe over to pronto. But we also need to get her out of Arkham Woods to be able to do that. Alright. Take a look at our neighborhood acolyte. 3 combat, 1 health, 2 evade. Humanoid cultist. Spawn at any empty location. Forced. After acolyte enters play, place 1 doom on it. It was only a small sacrifice. 1 damage. This I might have mentioned this during my playthrough of The Gathering, but when a doom goes into play, if it doesn't have the Ancient Evils clause on it, where it specifies that this effect can cause the agenda to advance, then doom that puts you over the top would not cause the agenda to advance, because it only checks once at the start of the Mythos phase. And then Daisy draws. Rotting Remains. Revelation, test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror. A sickening display of gore causes you to retch. You're glad this wasn't you. Alright, Daisy right now is base even, and I will commit... Do I want to use a Eureka here, go up 1, try to dig? That's actually not a bad plan, because I'm not entirely thrilled with Daisy's hand right now. So yeah, I think I will use Eureka to go up 1. Mostly to try to improve my hand. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that's in the bag right now that could cause me to fail. Skull is... Let's take a look at Skull. Skull is minus X, where X is the number of monster enemies in play. Thankfully, that's not among the tokens that can cause Daisy to fail right now, but that could get out of control in a hurry. So Daisy does pass the test. We get 3 cards off the top of the deck. So card 1 for Daisy to choose from is another Eureka, which we just saw her use. Card 2, Shriveling, 3 cost to play, combat on commit. Uses 4 charges. As an action, spend a charge to fight with will instead of combat and deal +1 damage. But if you pull a bad symbol, take 1 horror. And Dr. Milan Christopher, 4 cost to play, lore on commit. You get +1 lore. After you successfully investigate, gain 1 resource. 1 health, 2 sanity on soak, takes up the ally slot, and going into the hand. I was tempted by the Eureka. Shriveling I don't particularly need right now, but I could potentially use it later. Like I said, it's not something I need now, and I probably want a little more... I probably want at least St. Hubert's Key out before I'm warm to bringing that out. But we'll give this a quick shuffle. And a cut. And then we'll move into the investigation phase. Daisy's turn will take us over to the map. Action 1 for Daisy will take us down to Arkham Woods. Action 2, she'll investigate up 2. A 0 gets her a clue. And then action 3 will run the investigate back. That is a well-used -1, but that does get her the other clue. Alright, that will do it for Daisy. Zoe's action 1, she needs to get out of here. She's going to use... we're going to use Unexpected Courage at the very least to go up 1. And then Daisy... I really don't want to give her Milan. I guess I'll just give her I've Got a Plan to put her up 2. Right. A 0 gets Zoe out. Daisy will probably be able to leave on her next turn. So action 1 takes Zoe up to the main path. Action 2 will bring her up to this Arkham Woods location. We'll deal with the Acolyte in a minute, but I want to see what is revealed here. Arkham Woods Old House. Shroud of 2, 2 clues. This location is investigated using will instead of the skill indicated by the investigation attempt. A house waits at the edge of the trail, covered in vines. Inside, the walls and floors are blood-stained and littered with dirt, mud, and discarded bones. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. And then dealing with the Acolyte, Zoe would get the resource, but she's immediately going to spend it with a handy exhaustion token going on Zoe's cross. Acolyte, go bye-bye. Always a welcome sight when we're able to do that. And then action 3, since that investigates with will, Zoe will investigate, and she is up 2. A 0 gets Zoe a clue, so she actually gets to do some work. Work on clues anyway. That will do it for Zoe. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Zoe made our only enemy in play go away pretty easily. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Zoe gains 1 resource and goes to 3. Daisy gains 1 and goes to 5. Zoe draws. Dark Pact. Uh-oh. 2 cost to play. Deal 2 damage to an investigator at your location. Forced. When the game ends or you're eliminated, if Dark Pact is in your hand, remove Dark Pact from your hand, search the collection for the price of failure, and add it to your deck. Delightful. Daisy draws. Deduction level 2. 2 or on commit. If the skill test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location, 2 instead if you succeed by 2 or more. And I'll take a look at the flavor text when we advance, or when we actually commit that. Mythos Phase, we are advancing the agenda. So we'll take a look here. Death to the intruders. Throughout the woods, a shrieking cry echoes. From somewhere deeper in the forest, a score of hideous voices answer the call, inhuman as the baying of hounds and yet articulate, repeating a singular name. Umordoth. 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 Spawn shuffle the encountered discard pile into the deck and discard cards from the top until a monster enemy is discarded. Spawn that enemy at the main path. Then place 1 doom on that enemy. Delightful. Alright, so we'll shuffle this up. All right, we'll give that a cut, and then we want a monster. Not a monster, but I'm happy to see that go. Not a monster. 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 Monster. I'm definitely happy to see a lot of Doom generators go away, though. Okay, so those all go to the discard pile, and we'll take a look at our enemy that just came out. Screeching Bayaki, 3/4/3. Prey, lowest remaining sanity, so to be looking for Zoe if we don't go make friends with it right away, and that's very tempting. Hunter, while engaged with an investigator with remaining sanity 4 or fewer. Screeching Bayaki gets +1 fight and +1 evade. Victory 1, 1 health, 2 sanity. So that goes to the main path and gets a Doom on it. Agenda 2A, Umor Doth, Umor Doth, Umor Doth. The chanting builds in intensity, echoing into the cold air of the night. The sparse clouds in the sky coalesce above the Arkham woods, blotting out the faint light of the stars. Each enemy gets +1 fight and +1 evade. So that Screeching Bayaki is actually a 4/4/3. Zoe will then draw Grasping Hands. Revelation test agility 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 damage. Zoe doesn't have anything that she can boost that with, so she's down 1 hoping for a pull. Elder Sign might actually be a pull that we can work with. If I can, there we go. +1. If the skill test is successful during an attack, the attack deals +1 damage. That actually brings Zoe up to even, so she doesn't take any damage. Daisy draws a ghoul minion. 3/2/3 because of the agenda. It was a colossal and nameless blasphemy with glaring red eyes, and it held in bony claws a thing that had been a man, gnawing at the head of a child as a child nibbles at a stick of candy. H.P. Lovecraft, Pickman's model. 1 and 1 on attack. Okay, so Daisy may be is probably going to be trying to get away from that here. But we're into the investigation phase, and that's not our only problem, unfortunately. I think Zoe is going to start by heading over to the map. As much as I want to leave Zoe up at the old house and grab that last clue, we need to take that Bayaki out, especially if I think I'm going to need to get the scenario moving here. So for action 1, I'm going to bring Zoe down to the main path and engage with the Screeching Bayaki, which would give her a resource, but she'll immediately spend it and exhaust the cross to deal 1 damage to the Bayaki. Testless damage is such a wonderful thing in this, is going to be such a wonderful thing here. Unfortunately, that's the end of her testless damage, because for action 2, she's going to attack with the blade, and I'm going to be up 1. I'm going to be up 1 with the blade, and I think up 1 is where God, I don't want to commit the dynamite blast. I could commit the machete, but do I take a chance? I could spend a charge to get another +1 and deal +1 damage for the attack. Let's do that. That way I can decide later if I want to commit something. So I'm at 4, 5, 6 to 4. I'm up 2, trying to do 2 damage to the Bayaki. Skull, I believe, now is... Yeah, the skull now is -2 because we have 2 monster enemies in play. But that is enough to do 2 damage to the ghoul. Or not the ghoul. The Bayaki. So that'll bring us up to a 3. And then action 3... Do I go... Now I think I do have to commit the... So 4, 5... Now I'll commit the machete to go up 2 and try to take out the Bayaki. +1 gets rid of the Bayaki, so that goes... So the Doom on that goes away. And the Bayaki actually goes, because it's got Victory 1, that goes into the Victory display. So that's very welcome, and that will do it for Zoe's turn. Daisy, first thing she needs to do is she needs to evade this ghoul minion. And for action 1, she'll evade, and I don't like the idea of committing the Research Librarian because I'm going to need him later. We'll test it even for now. I can commit him later if I think I need to. So I'll do 1 without, then I'll commit on the next one, but either way I need to try to get Daisy out of here. Elder Thing is going to tell me, yeah, right. Elder Thing is -5. If there's an Ancient One enemy in play, reveal another token. There is not an Ancient One enemy in play, but the -5 brings her down to -2, which resets to 0 and still fails. So action 2, we'll try again, and this time we'll commit the Research Librarian to go up 1, but obviously we're not stopping a -5 on that. Tentacle Touched. Okay, so I actually do have another option available to me, and I think I almost have to do it. So I'm going to initiate a move action, which will let the ghoul minion deal an attack of opportunity for 1 and 1. But I'm going to try, basically the plan is to try to bring the ghoul minion up here to the main path where Zoe can deal with it. So we do have to still test lore. Daisy is up 2. Is there something in her hand I want to commit? There is not. So up 2, trying to move out. Skull is -1, so Daisy's able to get out of the... what is that? The Twisting Paths. So that'll do it for the investigation phase. I'll flip Daisy over just to signify that. Enemy phase, Daisy takes another 1 and 1. Which is rather unfortunate, but no help for it at this point. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Zoe gains 1 resource and goes to 4. Daisy gains 1 and goes to 6. Zoe draws. Evidence. 1 cost to play, 2 lore on commit. Fast, play after you defeat an enemy, discover 1 clue at your location. Daisy draws. Higher education. 0 cost to play, will and lore on commit. While you have 5 or more cards in hand, higher education gains, as an action, spend a resource to get 1 of either stat for this test. Mythos Phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 1. We get our first Doom on the new agenda. Zoe draws. Umordroth's Wrath. Test Revelation, test Will 5. For each point you fail by, you must either choose 1. Discard a card from your hand or take 1 and 1. Now, unfortunately, I can't use that to discard the weakness out of her hand. So Daisy is going to commit the... Daisy's going to commit higher education just to get Zoe to even on this one. A 0 means Zoe's clear of that. So thank you, Daisy. Let's see what the deck of bad things does to Daisy in return. The yellow sign. Oh geez. Revelation test will 4. If you fail, take 2 damage and I forgot to go through the flavor text on Umordhoth's Wrath, so we'll come back to this card in a second. A deathly chill engulfs you, attempting to suck your life force away. Now back to the yellow sign. As an action, test will 4, or as a test, Revelation test will 4. If you fail, take 2 horror and search your deck for a madness weakness. Draw that card and shuffle your deck. They came to me slowly as if I had forgotten them, and at last I could make some sense out of the sounds. It was this. Have you seen the yellow sign? Robert W. Chambers, the yellow sign. So right now, Daisy's base down 1, and I'll commit the Scroll of Prophecies to get her to even. And I don't think Zoe has anything she's going to test. She doesn't. Alright, so Daisy's at even. Rune is also nothing good. Rune is -3. If there's a monster enemy at your location, take 1 damage. So Daisy takes a damage from the ghoul minion being at the location. She also takes 2 horror from failing the yellow sign. And I'll check her deck, but I don't think she has a madness weakness. Item Tome Injury. Nope. Okay. We'll give that a shuffle, but there were no madness weaknesses to find in Daisy's deck. An uneventful but potentially catastrophic Mythos Phase. We'll find out, though. And a cut. Alright, we are into the investigation phase now, and Zoe, we need to have this go well as we start at your play area. Action 1, Zoe's going to make friends with the ghoul minion, and you guys know how the song goes by now with the cross. Gain the resource, exhaust it for a free damage on the ghoul minion. Action 2, stab the ghoul minion with the enchanted blade. So 4, 5 to 3, she's up 2. Remember, the ghoul minion is +1 because of the agenda. So up 2. +1 takes out the ghoul minion. And then in that window, Zoe's going to spend 1 resource. Where is it? Here we are. To play Glory. Fast, play after you defeat an enemy. Draw 2 cards. Ding, ding, ding! So 2 cards for Zoe. Card 1 is the Enchanted Blade level 3. 3 cost to play, lore and combat on commit. Uses 3 charges. As an action, fight, getting +2 combat for this attack. If you succeed, you may spend 1 charge to empower the blade, dealing +1 damage for this attack. If the blade is empowered and this attack defeats an enemy, draw 1 card and heal 1 horror. And another machete that we had to commit earlier. Then action 3 will take us over to the map. For action 3, we'll send Zoe back up to the old house and plan on discovering that last clue next round. Daisy's action 1 will take her down to the last unrevealed Arkham Woods location, and we'll see what we have here. Arkham Woods, Unhallowed Ground, Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Forced, after you enter this location, test Will 4. If you fail, take 1 and 1. Oh boy, Daisy cannot afford to take another 1 and 1, so she's going to have to commit the Dream Diary to go to even. -1 means Daisy takes 1 and 1. She's 1 health away from being defeated by damage. So for action 2, she's going to play 4 resources to get there you are. To get her buddy Milan and play mostly as damage soak. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I'm exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. That's action 2. Then action 3. Whoops, gotta get the 2 clues out. Action 3, we're going to commit deduction to an investigation. So Daisy's 5, 6, 8 to 4. She's up 4, pulling all the clues off that location. A -1 will get the clues off the location and get her a resource thanks to Milan, so she goes back up to 3. And that will do it for Daisy. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Zoe managed to kill our enemies, but Daisy's in a very bad way right now. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Zoe gains 1 resource and goes to 4. Actually, both of them gain 1 resource and go to 4. Zoe draws. Emergency cash, 0 cost to play, gain 3 resources. Daisy draws. St. Hubert's Key. You get +1 will, +1 lore, and -2 sanity. As a reaction, when you would be defeated by horror, discard St. Hubert's Key to immediately heal 2. Takes the accessory slot, 4 cost to play, will on commit. Mythos Phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 2. Zoe draws. Oops, forgot to unexhaust the cross. Ancient Evils. Revelation, place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Dark forces stir against you. If you don't act quickly, a sinister plot will be fulfilled. This is what I was talking about earlier when I had the Acolyte come out earlier in the scenario, where this effect can cause the current agenda to advance. That is what's known as the Ancient Evils clause. So a very dangerous thing to have happen, because Ancient Evils basically says lose a turn. And that's why when the agenda first advanced and I discarded 1 Ancient Evils, I was so happy to see that card go. Daisy draws. Grasping Hands. Uh-oh. Revelation, test agility 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 damage. Decaying Hands rise up from below and grasp and claw at your ankles. Fortunately, Daisy's even, but this could represent just the end of the scenario. But let's see what happens on the pull. A -1. So we do take 1 damage, but Milan can eat that, which is unfortunate, but it has to be that way. Because otherwise, we just die. Otherwise, Daisy just bites it, and then Zoe's basically stuck in an impossible situation, because the only way she's getting clues is in a situation like we're in right now. So speaking of which, let's move over to Zoe and the map for the investigation phase. For action 1, Zoe's going to investigate at the old house. She is up 2. Zero gets the last clue, which will go ahead and spend the 6 clues because there's no timing restriction on that to advance the act. Unveiling the plan. Scattered throughout the forest, you've seen glyphs and arcane sigils in various places, etched into the bark of trees, carved upon the faces of stones and dripped in blood upon the ground. Though you cannot decipher these glyphs, you notice that most of them tend to face south. Following these signs leads you by twists and turns to a cave in the darkest and coldest part of the forest. As you advance, shadowy figures emerge from the trees, blocking the only path to the cave. Put the set-aside ritual site into play if it's not already in play. Search the collection for each enemy recorded in your campaign log under Cultists Who Got Away, and spawn those enemies at the main path. Which I've taken the liberty of doing already. So we are going to have a mess at the main path. So these are the 4 cultists who got away. So we've got, first up, Wolfman Drew, 5-4 the cannibal, 5-4-2-3. Remember, they're +1 fight and +1 evade because of the agenda. Force. When Wolfman Drew attacks, heal 1 damage from him. Drew is a longtime patient in Arkham Asylum. Rumor has it he was locked up for committing cannibalism several years ago. He is considered extremely dangerous. 2 damage on attack, going to the main path. Then we've got Herman Collins, the Undertaker. Spawn at the graveyard. As an action, choose and discard 4 cards from your hand. Parlay to add Herman Collins to the victory display. The Undertaker is the local graveyard. And the local graveyard has been digging strange tunnels underneath the mausoleum. But for what purpose? Victory 1, 1 and 1 on attack. Peter Warren, the occult professor. Herman Collins was a 4-4-5. Okay, right. Peter Warren, the occult professor, 3-3-4. As an action, spend 2 clues to parlay, adding Peter Warren to the victory display. A professor of the occult has been seen reading strange books that relate to cannibalism. Maybe he knows something we don't. Victory 1, 1 damage on attack. And Ruth Turner, 3-4-6. Forced after she's evaded, add her to the victory display. Bodies from the morgue have mysteriously gone missing. Perhaps the mortician in St. Mary's has something to do with these disappearances. Victory 1, damage on attack. Alright, so that's everything there. Then for action 2, Zoe's going to clean herself out of resources to play the Dynamite Blast, aiming at the main path. So choose either your location or a connecting location. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and to each investigator at the chosen location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So that means Peter Warren goes straight to the victory display. And everything else is going to get a 3 damage on them. Three, 3, and 3. Then for action 3, we got to put the ritual site into play as well. So I will deal with that in a second. Plus we have the new agenda that we need to look at as well, which we might be advancing here pretty quick. Act 2A, Into the Darkness. The remaining cultists have followed you into the woods to try to stop you, and now they block the path to your objective. Not for long, they don't. They stand ominously between the overhanging trees, silent sentinels in the night. You must defeat them or sneak past if you are to gain access to the site of their ritual. Objective: if an investigator enters the ritual site, advance. Alright, so as I was saying, for action 3, Zoe will move into the main path and make friends with everybody here, which will also give her 3 resources, 2 of which she'll keep. So she'll go up to 2. She'll spend the 3rd and exhaust the cross to take out... I think Wolfman Drew is probably the most dangerous one of the bunch to take out, so he'll go straight to the victory display. And then that will do it for Zoe. What are we going to have Daisy do is the next question. I think Daisy for action 1 will move into the main path. Then action 2, she'll move up to the ritual site, since Zoe's going to deal with these 2 bozos. The large central chamber of an old dark cavern, adorned with arcane markings and dimly lit by candlelight. And we find Shroud of 3, 4 clues. Force. At the end of the round, if there are fewer than 2 clues per investigator on the ritual site, Add clues to it until it has 2 clues per investigator. The sigils on the wall begin to flicker in and out of focus, and the air grows heavy with the smell of death. So we'll get the 4 clues for that. 3, 4. And then okay, so move, but we do advance the act because we entered the ritual site. All right. Uh-oh. Oh, this is bad. Last rites. When you enter the cave, the air grows cold and your nostrils are assaulted by the pungent smell of blood and rot. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the deck. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until 1 enemy is discarded. 2 instead if there are 3 or more players in the game. Spawn each discarded enemy at the ritual site. That is very bad. Alright, so shuffle the discard pile into the deck. I think I'd forgotten that it did that. Alright, so we want to go until we hit an enemy. Not an enemy. Not an enemy. Not an enemy. Not an enemy. Oh, geez. Enemy. That thing is dangerous. It's the Screeching Bayaki Zoe dealt with earlier. And it's still +1 evade. So, yeah, this is very bad. At this point, Daisy's only hope for Action 3 is to evade and hope for a pull. She's down 1 because of the agenda. Actually, she's down 2 right now, so I don't think there's any way she can get away from this thing. Skull is -1, so yeah, Daisy wasn't getting away from that thing in a million years anyway. So that will do it for Daisy, that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Daisy takes 1 damage and 2 sanity, so she's actually defeated by damage, which gives her a physical trauma, but I doubt very much that's going to matter in the grand scheme of things. And that was my own screw-up, because it's been a while since I played this campaign, so I guess I forgot that it did that. Then Zoe takes 2 damage and 1 horror from her enemies. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Before we go into Zoe's upkeep phase, we'll go through the new act, but I don't think it's going to matter anyway. Act 3A, Disrupting the Ritual. The site of the cult's ritual is inside a large cavern in a dark corner of the woods. In the center of the chamber is a candlelit circle marked by rocks and arcane runes. As an action, spend 1 clue to test Will or Agility 3. If you succeed, place 1 clue on this act. Objective: if there are 2 or more 2 clues per investigator on this act, advance. Yeah, I kind of screwed the pooch on this one when I sent Daisy in there, forgetting I was going to discard an enemy, or spawn an enemy. Mythos Phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 4. Zoe draws the yellow sign, so she's got to test Will 4 as well, and I don't think... Nope, she doesn't have anything she can commit. So Zoe's searching at even, but I don't think she has a madness weakness either. Not that I think it's going to matter. -1, it does deal her 2 horror, though. 2 horror. I'm just going to take a quick look, but I don't think she has a madness weakness in her deck. Does not. Okay. All right, so we'll give that a quick shuffle. That's a cut. And then in the investigation phase, we'll move down to Zoe's play area, but I don't think we're going to be at this too much longer. Looking at our current situation right now, even if Zoe can take out both of these enemies, and she could, she's still got to deal with that screeching Bayaki as well. If she's still down here at the main path, that screeching Bayaki is going to come down and take her out by sanity, which means we're basically up the proverbial creek without a paddle. So I think unfortunately at this point we are going to have to resign and leave Arkham to its fate. So with that, we'll move back up top for scenario resolution. We're back up top, so let's go into scenario resolution.
If no resolution was reached, each investigator resigned or was defeated. Too frightened to face her fate, Lita flees into the night. She realizes that she has failed, and Umardov's vengeance will pursue her wherever she goes. The creature's tendrils spread throughout the city of Arkham, searching for her. It lurks in the darkness of every corner, tugging at the seams of reality, but Lita is nowhere to be found, so the creature dwells in the shadows to this day, searching, killing. In your campaign log, record that Arkham succumbed to Umardov's terrible vengeance. Each surviving investigator is killed. The investigators lose the campaign.
Alright, a little depressing to see it end that way, but that's just how it goes in the Arkham Horror files sometimes. I will finish noting this. So Zoe and Daisy were both killed, and we lost the campaign. That will do it for the scenario, and that will just about do it for the spring campaign. So later this afternoon, we're going to wrap the spring campaign. Then Wednesday, we're going to step back into the Call of Cthulhu universe as we play Call of Cthulhu Alone Against the Frost. As for the next few weeks, they're going to be busy not just on the channel, but on friends' channels as well. So next week, we're going to debut a brand new game on the channel. We're going to debut our first sports game on the channel called Title Bout 2, which is a boxing simulator. Also next week, I'll be live with Jester on his channel for Arkham Horror 2nd Edition on Tabletop Simulator at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 Central. The week after that, I'll be back with Jester again as I, Higher Ground Gaming, and Lower Slower Board Gamer count down our top 50 board games of all time for the next 5 weeks every Sunday night. I'm also planning on doing my own top 50 video games list, and then I'll eventually combine the top 50 video games with my top 50 board games to get to my top 100 games of all time. Look for more details on that in coming videos. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.